My whole life I've had carb crashes, so-called. I'd fall asleep all the time. I had a lot of side effects, but I never really knew it was carbs until I withdrew carbs completely from my diet. We are very focused on carnivore, but that's far from being the one thing that society is getting wrong.
And I realized there's a bit of a gatekeeping thing in the industry. So if my idea is a bit too different from the people up above, I couldn't really publish anything. So I kind of went back to my artistic roots.
A lot of these people that are hyper-focused on these fears, their next focus is not to scale the message so much as it is to find a small community and bank on it. It doesn't really scale the message. And so I've always thought, these guys are great, they found everything so well, and yet they can't break through anything because it's not explained in an easy way, while it could be easy to explain.
Welcome, fellow carnivores. Really excited to have Theo and Nicole here talking about their experience as carnivores and their carnivore storybook creators. And they're passionate advocates for the carnivore lifestyle, using their creativity and expertise to challenge the standard American diet. I think we got just standard global diet today. Nicole, an artist and anthropologist, brings a unique perspective to their work, while Theo, a musician and entrepreneur, adds his innovative flair. Together, they've authored a carnivore storybook that combines their love for health, art, and storytelling. Through their platform, they share insights on nutrition, fitness, and holistic living, inspiring others to rethink their approach to food and wellness. Their journey is a testament to the power of curiosity, creativity, and commitment to a healthier life. Welcome, Theo and Nicole. How are you? And maybe you could tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you live, and how you got into this carnivore craziness.
Well, thanks for having us.
Pleasure,
Thanks
pleasure.
for having us. I guess you start because you introduced us to the carnivore diet.
Well, yeah. So basically, I'm from Belgium. Nicole's from Hong Kong.
Beautiful.
I grew up in a very decent household in terms of food, everything homemade, everything. I mean, my mom would cook everything. However, it was very as carb. I mean, what would you call it? Was as carb heavy as you'd imagine for a so-called healthy homemade diet. So we'd have meat every day, but always with some carbs. And my whole life I've had carb crashes, so-called. I'd fall asleep all the time. I had a lot of side effects, but I never really knew it was carbs until I withdrew carbs completely from my diet. But that's way later. But anyway, so we're basically a triangle between England, where we met. Her father lives there. My whole family is in Belgium, except for my parents who live in France, and that's where we are at the moment. So I think Nicole was slightly more on a carnivore diet than I was, being from Hong Kong.
Yes, yes.
But I'm the one who kind of brought it to her because of my own dealings with asthma and early on arthritis when I was around 20, 21. So I was slightly overweight, but nothing crazy. I was just around 87 kilograms. What's that? That's maybe
180?
Yeah, 180, give or take 180.
Yeah.
For around 176. So I think that's 5'10", something like that. So nothing crazy, but I was not fit. And my pulmonary capacity, my lung capacity was not great. It was around 49%, while having 127% the capacity of the average person. So my physiological capacity was bigger in terms of potential, but my actual input and output was only 49%.
Wow.
So I had steroids growing up. I had the kitchen sink. I had a lot of side effects, and so I kind of threw everything down the toilet around age 18 or 19 and just learned to live with it until one day I stumbled upon, I think must have been an amalgamation of Jordan Peterson, Sean Baker, and back then probably Paul Saladino, because he was still on the carnivore back then. It was, so I can't remember who it was, but I remember these three being in the same time, in the same period of time. And it all made sense because I've always forced myself to eat vegetables. And it also occurred that I got a lot better by going on a ketogenic diet where I had lost around 25 pounds and my lung capacity had increased already, but I was suffering from terrible IBS. And at this point, I was to the point where I came back to France because I had my healthcare in France, and they don't even know what IBS is. So,
Whoa.
I mean, common physicians, it's not a thing. They would call it bowel movement if you really asked what they think it can be, but it's not really a thing for them. Like bowel movement is what happens when you eat, right? So there's no IBS or inflammatory syndrome associated with it. So I did an ultrasound of my testes because we had no idea what it could be. We went around, I went to the oncologist, no one could find anything. And one day I was just like, you know what, I had no idea, and I didn't know what IBS was, obviously. So I just like, I'm going to throw away the vegetables because I just don't even want them. And so I just had meat. And then I think a week after, it was so much better.
Wow.
And everything got much better from there on. And I remember going back to my pulmonologist, I think around a year after being more into that, and I had gone back up to 91% capacity with no treatment. And obviously I was doing a bit of a mild exercise, no gym or anything like that, but walking every day, doing some light body work at home. And long story short, the pulmonologist told me that I would get cancer eating the way I was eating. So either I was on drugs my whole life, which is fine, or I was getting cancer being fine. So that's kind of when I met Nicole. And
how long ago was this? How young are you guys?
Nicole's 32, I'm 29. We met when I was 24, 27. And so it was kind of a progressive thing. We were really ketogenic for sure. Heavily meat-based with a tiny bit of let's say like cherry tomatoes or a broccoli here and there, or sometimes a small dessert like a homemade chocolate mousse, but with no sugar, just like beaten eggs and a bit of dark chocolate, but nothing over the top. We were very fit. And then we came to France after the second lockdown, where we came back to the family with my parents, and obviously we are in a very Roman Latin environment. So the mom is the chef of the house. And we went back to a very, let's say, carb present diet. And for me, a lot of things started coming back again. And it was way worse than before. I could not tolerate anything. I would just eat and it would just come back out straight away.
Wow.
And not in a painful way whatsoever. It would just, as if I'd burp, but everything would come out with it. So it's just my body just refuses all of that now. And so after a bit of discord, but talks, we kind of decided to split the kitchen in some ways. And we've gone back to carnivore for almost 3 years now. So, but something might overlap with what you do, because Nicole, we've just had our first child, and Nicole's pregnancy was not all green on the carnivore diet, unfortunately, because she had big meat aversions. But so prior to that, it had been a solid 2 years on, let's say, I don't know what you'd call it, close to an obligate carnivore. So probably 90 to 97% carnivore, or lion diet, close to a lion diet, you'd call it, with the occasional, nothing drastic, but maybe a fry here and there, or something that my mom would have made, because we're Belgian, so we kind of have to respect the culture.
Yeah, of course. And I'm Italian and obviously Asian. Our cultures are the thing that drives us more than anything.
And they're so heavy. There's such heavy food cultures. So all of a sudden throwing everything away is very difficult, especially culturally and within the family. It's not really a good role to have.
All right. If you're not a member of the Mighty Tribe yet, you must, right? Just go to Kiltz's Mighty Tribe and become a member. It's free. The whole intention is to bring the community of all humans to learn why this is better than this. And we invite all vegans and vegetarians, Mediterraneans, and carnivorians to Kiltz's Mighty Tribe. It's a meetup. It's a place to learn while you've been suffering likely from this and you'll feel better on this. But what are the nuances of what you can do to feel better, look better, and live better? Because I've done it. And that's why I created the Mighty Tribe, to bring you into the masterclass. Be the master, my friends, and join Kiltz's Mighty Tribe. God bless. Well, maybe you could, I want to get to the pregnancy a little bit, and then we could talk about, let's talk about culture and family first, and then we'll talk about the pregnancy. And how does the rest of your family and immediate companions feel about what you're doing? And is anyone curious?
So,
Guess on your side of the family first.
yeah, you mean the carnivore diet?
Yeah, from the Hong Kong perspective.
Yes.
Then I'll go to where, how it goes here.
So, in my culture, their culture is the mother is the chef of the family. In my family, is my grandma, and she would cook for all of us. So yeah, it's always been really meat heavy. I would say 60% meat and 40% plant-based food. What got me into a ketogenic diet was my father's comments, because I've always been a picky eater to him. I don't like spices, but there's quite a lot of spices in my culture, so I had a hard time eating even at home. Not with my grandma, because she's willing to compromise, but at in restaurants, I don't like garlic or ginger. I don't like anything from the pepper family or the chili family, so I couldn't eat anything outside. And so my father said, "Oh, that's not good. You should eat according to the food pyramid." And I ignored him until I was maybe 22 or something, because I started to care more about my health. And that's where it got worse. And then my aunt, one day she told me, "Oh, you've became chubby." That's the first. It's a really strange comment for me, because I've always been on a slim side, and I couldn't believe her, and so I weighted myself. Yeah, I've gained like 5 kilograms in half a year. That's quite a lot, and that's because I ate according to the food pyramid. And that's my father's advice. And so I told her that's what happened, and that's how I gained the 5 kilograms, and she was right. And then she said, "I told you shouldn't eat so much carbs." And her rice bowl was never full. She was would always eat like the amount of rice that equals to maybe 1 sushi or maybe 2 at most. And she said, "Carb is not good for you. You see, I never fill my bowl to the top." And okay, so I was thinking, okay, so she was low-key on a ketogenic diet without knowing. And so I was thinking, okay, I have to try this. But it was a bit difficult for me at home, because it's difficult to get the fat to get to a high-fat diet with my grandma cooking for all of us. I could do animal-based, but for high-fat is impossible. So it was in my mind, but I couldn't do it until we met, and then let's do it together. And shifting to the carnivore diet was amazing for me, because I realized all the spicy food I got when I'm on the carnivore diet. The other funny thing is I still like tomato paste, but then I learned about the nightshade family, and then I realized tomato is part of the nightshade family, also eggplant. And that I became quite alert with this, because I remember the plant, like the deadly nightshade, the other name was belladonna, is also from the same family, and it's a poisonous plant. And in the past, people would put the juice of this plant into their eyes to make the pupils dilate so they look prettier. But that's toxic. It's really toxic. And so I realized, oh, they're from the same family. So it makes sense that they carry the same substances. And I realized, oh, I've been eating this for a very long time. And I also realized that it's stated in some Chinese medicine books that eggplants are not great for the human body, and you should not have a lot. So it started to make sense for me, and I'm willing to give a go when he said that it's a thing, not just ketogenic, but full-on animal-based food.
And tell us a little about your pregnancy and how'd you. So you're a carnivore, you get pregnant. When did you have the aversion? How quick was it?
I think it was about like week 6. I had aversion with everything, not just meat, also with plants. But I slowly realized more with meat when it's about like week 8.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's 2 things. So the first thing is psychological, because I crave food from my childhood. It's not that a woman got pregnant and then maybe you want lettuce or you want a tomato, and then people would think that maybe your body's missing some vitamins and you want that from certain food. But for me, it's purely psychological, because there's a lot of, like, let's say, Japanese food in my childhood. So in the beginning of the pregnancy, I was like, I really want to go to a Japanese restaurant. And it has nothing to do with nutrients or vitamins or anything like that. It's just a childhood memory.
It's probably thinking this is safe
Yeah,
because
this
this is
is
what I
really
grew up
safe.
on.
This is
Yeah.
what I had as a kid. So same for seafood, because I had a lot of seafood as a kid. I think my first food as a kid was fish, so I crave a lot of fish. And so I think it's purely a psychological thing. That's why a lot of women in the beginning of their pregnancy, they want like burgers or spaghetti or fries, the childhood comfort food, or pizzas. And me, I want some like sushi, the food I had as a kid. And
But no raw fish though.
yeah, no raw fish, so it's really difficult.
Well, I'm just wondering about the idea of raw fish and meat and things like that. I mean, isn't that also psychological? Because we're taught it's not good for us. But ultimately, if we go way back, I mean, raw meat, raw fish was our go-to, because
I like it.
you didn't have time to cook before some other organism, other animal, or the human come to take it away from you. But my suspicion, even in a lot of people have hyperemesis, nausea, vomiting. Did you have those problems in early pregnancy?
No.
You never really vomited, right? But you kind of
No.
had a bit of a not acid reflux, but more like she had nausea, and it kind of felt like it was going for vomiting, but without ever going there.
Yeah. So, because I think a lot of nausea and vomiting early in pregnancy is an aversion from eating foods that are going to harm your baby. And fasting early in pregnancy is very good. And if you think about it, there's a hyperphagia to eat. They say in the luteal phase early is to eat to get fat, because fat's the fuel for your body and your baby. And so if you're not fat, something's wrong with you in our evolution. So I think what you're saying is important, and the psychological component is big, because our brain has just got all this stuff in us that we've been hearing since we were born. And meat is, don't eat that, right? And raw is not good for you, right? So,
I mean, how is it in the States, for example? So we did the pregnancy in France, and it's very heavily monitored, and you can't really get out of the tracks because you can get in trouble. And they are terrified of toxoplasmosis, and that's the toxoplasmosis. Pork, if it's not cooked well enough, raw fish, raw beef, and everything. But having said that, I always cook my beef very, very rare, close to raw actually. And I mean, that's what Nicole had some of the time actually. So
I mean, the second thing with the food aversion I've noticed is that you become really sensitive when the meat is slightly off. So because we used to bulk buy, and then we freeze the beef, and then we put it in the freezer, and then we defroze it, and then we cook it. It was fine until I got pregnant, and then it starts to smell a bit more rancid to me. And sometimes I could have beef, but it has to be really clean, really fresh. And so I think that's why.
Fresh kill, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I actually focus on buying my meat from a processor that processes the animal, cuts and freezes quickly. And so I think maybe that's one of the problems, because my wife called me the other day and she had thawed a piece, left it even wrapped a little longer, and it got brown. And she says, I'm not touching this, because we're so used to processor, frozen, out of the freezer, let it thaw. I dry age it and with salt, and that is so the very best. And So maybe we're getting spoiled in this world, but that's interesting. So maybe we could sort of go over to a little bit about your careers, anthropology, musician. Tell us a little about each of your careers and how that may influence your carnivore lifestyle and maybe understanding of what were we 50, 100,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You want to speak of yours?
I mean, I don't really. I mean, I was going. I was designer. I was an illustrator or an artist. I've tried several things before 25, and I was thinking when I was 25, maybe I should change career. And then I thought to myself, maybe I could be an anthropologist. And then I realized there's a bit of a gatekeeping thing in the industry. So if my idea is a bit too different from the people up above, I couldn't really publish anything. So I kind of went back to where my roots, my artistic roots. But so what I've noticed with the anthropology angle is that what took us here for so long, it couldn't be wrong. And also there's almost no history or no folklore behind veganism. Or when you look at the cave paintings, there's no broccoli or anything like that.
Well, my grandma did not even know what a broccoli was until she was 25. It was not even around.
Wow. Well, if you think about it, we spent most of our time with food scarcity. And we're going to do anything we can to identify things that we can eat and feed our families for survival and thriving. And so we're pretty resourceful. When whatever happened, the animals were not enough for the majority, and we had already developed some agriculture and farming. And then the masses were sort of put out on the agricultural side of reaping and sowing the seeds, and they were not allowed to go to the hunting grounds. And so, I mean, we wouldn't be thinking about proper nutrients most of our evolution. We're just thinking about survival and food.
It's kind of weird, right? How the agricultural revolution is part of why we're so evolved now, and is the demise of the peak human condition.
Absolutely. And so survival is what we want, and thriving and reproducing, building our families. And so now we've kind of come to a point where like we're seeing this uptick in these chronic diseases, and survival is happening in a greater way, in a longer way. Anyway. And so now we're at a point where we can really evaluate, and we're finding some ideas that are completely contrary to what science is telling us. And maybe you could sort of jump in a little bit about your storybook on carnivore and what inspired you. Maybe show that to those watching. And would you read the title for us?
So it's Our Species Appropriate Diet, and it's Tiger's Mystery in Lion Land. So this is kind of me, basically, and this is kind of Nicole. And why tigers and lions?
So what inspired me to make the first one or this series is that we went to a birthday party from his side of the family.
And my godson's birthday party,
yes.
Yeah, who was 3 or 4.
And I was shocked to see that every single thing on the table was desserts, like cakes and then cookies. You can't even find sausages or ham or like anything that's not sweet.
And it's funny because we are matriarchy in my family. We overwhelm with women. we are really a clear minority of men, and all the men are savory, have a savory tooth, and they always crave like what do you call it, like salamis or ham or stuff.
Yeah.
All we ever get is cake.
Yeah. And after the party, I saw the little boy's meal, and it was a really small amount of smashed potato and a really tiny piece of chicken. And I did a really quick social experiment with my phone that time, and I searched for kids menu for 3-year-old in Chinese and in Japanese, and I did the same with in English and in French. And the Asian one is luxurious. You have everything. You have a broth, you have meat, you have some rice, you have some vegetables. It's like a really big thing. And the European one or the Western one is like with some chocolate sauce, a fruit yogurt that's with glucose syrup in it, and then there's some biscuits, and then with some
I mean, it's completely infiltrated by the
yeah,
industry.
exactly, with some other syrup on top. And I thought this is not. I was a bit angry because I would like to have kids sometime. But because that happened like 2 years ago, I think 1 or 2 years ago, and I was a bit angry. And then I thought if I have to raise my kid in a culture like that, I need something to fight these parents. Or if my kid, she's having a meat-based diet at school, she has to defend herself, and because the people are going to question her. So I think maybe I'll make it this really simple, funny way, so at least my kid in the future, she could defend herself if she's being questioned by her teachers or her friends. And so it's a lion because it's a really traditional European symbol, and it's a tiger because it's a really traditional Asian symbol.
That's a
And
good point.
so the
Love
story
it.
is like when the tiger moved to Lionland, she realized the lions are eating plants and desserts.
Inquisitive.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's actually the book thing. I'm kind of the one who wanted to have a book written about some sort of something, mostly because it wasn't just about the carnivore, it was also about other holistic things. Because you know that we are very focused on carnivore, but that's far from being the one thing that society is getting wrong. So I had mounted a lot of alternative things, and I wanted to do some sort of a compendium. I had no idea what to do with it, but I knew that it was not synthesized in any easy way anywhere. And this is where Nicole's storytelling and all of that comes in, where because she's a visual artist, she also has the sense of storytelling and visual telling. And she's a, what do you call it, visual anthropologist, right? That's your
Exactly,
actual
yes.
master.
Mhm.
So it's kind of actually you sort of doing that now.
Yeah. So basically, he would be the one reading articles and information, and then he will give it to me, and then I'll see how to fit it into the story.
I kind of gave the substance, so-called, and she found the angle. And so we didn't talk about the other things, but it's good enough because I tend to just go all over the place.
What are the things?
Well, for example, myopia. So I'm myopic, as in short-sightedness.
Yes.
Yeah, most ophthalmologists, I think that's what you call them, right?
Nearsighted or farsighted?
Nearsighted.
Right,
So
okay.
myopia as opposed to hyperopia. Sorry, so that's seeing afar but not close. So I can see close but not super far. And so most ophthalmologists that you'll get to see, at least in France, will tell you that they don't know where it comes from and it's genetic. And that just makes zero sense, right? So it sounds like it's a refractive adaptation to the environment. And putting glasses is probably going to just make it worse because you're going to create a new modifier and you're going to perturb your feedback loop, which will increase the problem in the first place because you did not address the problem at its core, which is that you probably got a ciliary muscle that got stuck in the first place, and then you put corrective lenses that are just meant for the distance, but then you keep them to see close. You send the beams behind your retina, and then you start having your eye elongating. So if that happens because of the environment, that must imply that you can reverse it in some ways, right? And that is the case. So I did not invent this, but I came across those writings and those things, and I started experimenting on myself. And sure enough, I have reversed my myopia to some degree, although it's difficult because it tends to be induced by being up close to things. And unfortunately, we are in front of our computers all day long, right? So it's difficult. So now you have to kind of work with seeing at the distance most of the time, and that's really not an environment that we're in most of the time. But anyway, so that's one thing. For example, you know now it's kind of mainstream in the internet world, the barefoot shoes, grounding. I mean, the fact that because I've had inner soles my entire life because I have flat feet and all of that. And so now I've been kind of the prototype of all the problems. So yeah, all of these things, and as you said, grounding, it makes a lot of sense. The sun, a lot of these things, basically. I mean, there's some that I'm forgetting, but yeah. So I was thinking we need to because I understand that there's a business model behind everything. Is that once you have some sort of something, you need to find a way to monetize it, right? So a lot of these people that are hyper focused on these fears, their next focus is not to scale the message so much as it is to find a small community and bank on it, which is fair enough. I mean, they do a lot of research, and it's totally fair that they give their that they try and make a living out of it, but it doesn't really scale the message. And so I've always thought these guys are great. They found everything so well, and yet they can't break through anything because it's not explained in an easy way, while it could be easy to explain. And so I don't know if it's by design or if it's just that they don't have the skill set or they don't have the contact, or I don't know.
Or their brain is damaged by the plant-based diet.
Well, funnily enough, you know, the community about myopia, which is called, I think, nmyopia.org, the guy who's behind it talked about the carnivore diet a lot because they also had noticed that reducing the amount of carbs, because we know, especially as short-sighted people, that when you have a heavy carb meal, your sight is worse at a distance after. So that's pretty known. So then all of a sudden it kind of links with the carnivore thing where, oh, it sort of makes sense that our natural state would happen to also be the state at which we see the best.
And I know for me, I didn't need glasses until my early 50s, late 40s. And it was first reading, and then I was like, you know what, I'm getting tired of so I just got myself some transitions. Progressive, thank you. But then I noticed it just changed and I had to keep going. But once I went carnivore, it got better and it just stabilized. I mean, I haven't had a change in my prescriptions in over 10 years.
Well, it's basically a muscle. What you have when you talk about reading glasses is not the same phenomenon as either myopia, which is elongation of the eye, so that's nearsightedness, or hyperopia, which is basically narrowing of the eye, which means you can see far easily but not close. What you have when you getting old is what's called presbyopia, which is basically your lens is hardening. It's becoming harder with age, and your muscle is having a harder time bending that lens. Just like if you would do a close-up on a lens, you see the lens protruding, right? It's exactly the same for us. So your lens is becoming more and more rigid. And so if you put a corrective lens, what do? Well, you don't use that muscle anymore.
Right.
Well, then what happens if you spend your life with some assistance? Your muscle will atrophy. And so you're worsening your condition. So it's good for comfort, but it's worse in the long run because you're accelerating. One of the factors is that you should increase the strength of your muscle at that point, and you're decreasing it basically.
Spend more time without your corrective lenses.
Well, there are people that, so I'm not there yet, but I know that there are people who have gotten rid of the glasses altogether by doing some sort of eye exercises, basically, which is kind of trying to retrain the eye to go past the point where you basically do some sort of a curls with your ciliary muscle in some ways.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You just need to learn to be strong enough to bend your lens again, basically.
And what about our environments besides our food? What are your thoughts on your home, your work, things you bathe with, and things you put on your bodies? Where are you guys on that side of things?
We should talk about the water.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it might sound, I mean, we sound completely crazy to the average person here, but at this point, within the realm of this kind of community, it's probably kind of a common sense at this point. Well, no sunscreen, obviously, no creams of any kind, basically, right? You don't put any moisturizer or anything like that.
Well, I've got some coconut oil.
Yeah, coconut oil, but no processed creams.
Yeah, natural coconut oil.
And it was mostly because of the antimicrobial thing for breastfeeding, because at the start it was sometimes painful, right, at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But that's the only place where you'd put cream. Very mild soaps that are made with tallow. No shampoos. We have grounding sheets. I have a grounding mat for my mouse. All of the LEDs are full spectrum because you can't get incandescent in Europe anymore. So that's the best you can get is
Wow.
basically, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's illegal now. So I mean, you can't
Yeah.
sell it. And we have at night, maybe you can show it quick for the fun of it. Whenever it's time to wind down, we have red light therapy in the whole room. So
Nice.
there you go.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect our circadian rhythm and doesn't derange the little girl too much. So, and we drink reverse osmosis water, which is a 7-stage thing. I mean, the water where we are is nowhere near as bad as the US, but with COVID, they increased the bleach content, the chlorine content by 4 times or 5 times
Wow.
since WHO's recommendations. It literally, I mean, I'm very, very sensitive. My sense of smell is very acute. I smell of a swimming pool water. It's really bad, and so
and it dries your skin when
it
you come
really
out
dries
from
your
the
skin
bath.
everywhere. It's really bad.
Mhm.
So I mean, we don't bathe in reverse osmosis. We just have a simple 15 stages filter for the shower.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it sounds completely nuts for the average person. It's not as it's within reason of what's doable without having miserable lives, basically. Let's say it's kind of yeah, it's not extreme in the wellness environment, but we've made it so we have as little of a polluting environment, let's say.
Yeah, we can't get completely out of it. It's part of our life in so many ways.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. How have you?
Oh, and
How
we have,
is
sorry, I forgot to mention, we have shielding on the curtains.
shielding?
Yeah, EMF mesh.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
basically, a silver copper mesh that we've doubled on the curtains. And whenever we use the phone or anything next to the baby, we also put a cover that is shielded on her. And we tend to be grounded anyway. So,
I mean, there's so much EMF, there's so much Bluetooth and so much Wi-Fi and cellular energy out there. It's a hard one to master this, but whatever we can do, because we spend a lot of time in our homes, in our
Mhm.
work. And so all the little things we can do to make that better. Have you guys changed your activity level, your physical level? Do you have any particular routines that help you in the carnivore lifestyle and keeping your body as fit as possible?
Or we have a home gym.
Well, yeah, we made a home gym. So basically, to circle back to the family thing, my mom is kind of a lost cause, but it's okay. Meaning she needs her carbs, she needs her vegetables. She has arthritis. It's painful. She does steroid injections twice a year in her hand. There's no amount of head bashing I can do for it to change, unfortunately, and I can't become the villain either. It's kind of a difficult one. However, his father had dementia and Parkinson, and so I'm the first one of my father, but I'm the last one of my mother. So my mom is 73 and my father is about to be 70. So my oldest sibling is 50 So I kind of have old parents, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And I also told him, look, so now he's finally a grandfather, but he's 70, all right? So if you want to enjoy all of this, you're going to have to be careful. And then I also explain how neurodegenerative diseases were very, very linked to glucose intake and all, and hyperglycemia and all of this. And so he kind of stopped drinking, and he's been mostly would say on the 70% carnivore up to 85%. He's lost a lot of body fat. I would say he's now he's looking very good for a 70-year-old. He's a bit tired here and there, but there's everyday life stress as well. So we made a home gym. We did it very well for about 6 to 8 months, about a year ago. And we had that kind of routine of kind of grabbing the sun, but we're not in a super sunny place either. We're in Brittany, it's a bit like England. It's not like we can decide to just wake up and get the sun. It's kind of you wake up and you get what you get.
Right.
But we did it for a while, and we had a lot of family turbulences in terms of we had to go there and in the business and in this and this and that. So it kind of fell apart a bit. But I mean, we still have chickens, still carry heavy bags of food, like 40 pounds bags and stuff. So we're not gymming in the clean sense anymore at the moment, and we haven't been doing so for a year, but we're still pretty active.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly the pregnancy. So we were going here and there for the family things, and then when we finally could settle down, and then I found that I had a baby, and because it's the first one, and I'm not in my 20s, so I was a bit more like really cautious with exercises and stuff. So I don't really do weightlifting anymore with the situation.
However, it's to be noted, right? Something we haven't talked about is since the carnivore diet, you've had no period pain, right?
Ah, yes,
Which was a very bad thing for. So that was gone.
Yeah, that was completely gone.
And
nothing.
Since we were forced, because we wanted to ideally we wanted to home birth, but it was a first one, and we are around 30 miles away from the nearest hospital. So the balance made us find a physiological ward. I don't know if that's a thing in the US, but it's basically a clinic that tends to try and do as holistically as possible, which is you get a room, it's not medicalized, but next door you have kind of some first aid kind of thing, and if there's really a problem, they can transfer you to the traditional ward, which is at the end of the hallway. And so we did this, but I mean, then got booted out because it's actually very, very strict on some stuff. But anyway, we were forced to do preparation classes, and it was very apparent. Everyone had back pain. Everyone had problems with X. Everyone had problem with Y. Well, I mean, no wonder they had shoes with heels like that. But Nicole literally had none of the debilitating symptoms that most of these sometimes younger girls had. And she had been squatting, pushing the sled, forward and backwards, pulling it, the carnivore thing, the grounding thing, the barefoot shoes. I mean, she said it, and I believe it's true. It really contributed to making the whole process way easier compared to your average consumer, let's say. It was really apparent. Anytime they said, "Oh, you have this problem, oh yeah, it's really, really difficult. I have this pain here, I have this pain there," and the girl is 27, and Nicole is 32 here, and she's chilling, and she's still carrying stuff, and then she can squat properly, and then and she's not a physical person to begin with. She's cerebral, she's clumsy, she's not a woman of the earth, she's not one of those farm girls that
ancestrally she is, but in a modern world of the way we're all living, we've changed our, you had to hunt and gather or do the work of preparing food, the growing food, hunting for food, preparing the animals, and we don't do any of that. Now it's, none of our jobs, the majority of our jobs did not exist. A minority of people are doing the jobs that we used to do, in a sense, and we're not doing. It's we can't live without it, but here we are in this world doing things like being doctors and musicians and artists and all those sort of things, which, I mean, it was in a time when finally we had some civilization.
No musician back then, for sure. I mean, they had to have tribal chants and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
but no full-time one.
But no full-time musician back then. But so to circle that back, the idea of the first book was especially seeing the family angle, which is it's all gone haywire. The whole narrative has been infiltrated, because even in France or in Italy, right?
Yeah.
Even if you take let's say the traditional folkloric diet, it's far from being completely bad. Yes, you have carbs, but for example, Belgium or France are very, very animal based. They're very full of butter. They're very full of animal fats. They're very full of, I mean, the fish. I mean, there's never a meal without meat that's conceived still, I would say, 50 years ago, right? And now the industry is telling you healthy cereals with vitamin D, because they have to put stuff in it to make it seem like it has nutrition. And sorry, you want to say something?
No, it's all modified. I mean, basically, exactly. The food's modified. And I was going to throw in that Hong Kong, a lot of
Mhm.
meat. And I'm wondering if, because I know in France there's a lot of fat in the diet, a lot of butter and things like that. And the way we used to, I mean, why would you cut the fat away?
It basically they've terrorized people out of saturated fat because of the cholesterol lipid hypothesis. We're still here today.
Is it a hypothesis or is it propaganda?
Well, of course it's propaganda, but
Maybe we should start saying the cholesterol propaganda, because a hypothesis means that there's still some debate on whether it's right or
yeah.
wrong. But
I
in
mean,
fact, we know it's wrong.
but have you noticed how, in order for, let's say, detractors to keep some amount of credibility, this lie has become such a staple of our understanding, or at least of the narrative, that you can't go fully against it. Now you have to find a problem with ApoB, or you have to find you still have to find a problem somewhere around cholesterol. You still,
Go ahead, finish up.
well, but you still, no. They've been wrong all along. What they meant is that small thing about cholesterol. It's never, no. Cholesterol has been there forever. It's a precursor to all of our steroid hormones. It makes a cell membrane. It's not designed to kill you, so it's so reductive.
And what does your body make to harm you?
Exactly. It makes
Nothing.
no sense. It makes no
Nothing.
sense. Yeah, but look, and it's even worse because in France you can still get very nice marbly meat. In Belgium or in Germany, it's sad to watch. If you go to, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of that cow, the blue-white Belgian cow. It's a very muscular cow, which was kind of selected. It has a myostatin, what do you call it, a gene recession or something. And basically it's pure muscle and it's no fat and it's literally water. And when you see the meat, you can barely recognize the cuts because they all look so lean. And I tell the butcher every time, because I don't grab what's in the store. I always go to the butcher, and I said, it's so sad to watch. And he say, yeah, don't tell me about it. And also they feel so bad because people always talk to the butcher as if indirectly the butcher was giving them poison if they give them a nice cut of meat with nice fat. But they said people have been terrorized of fat and they won't buy if you give if
It's marbling.
if there's marbling on the meat. And it's really a sad state of affairs. But
what are your thoughts about grass finished versus grain finished? Do you have any particular philosophy, beliefs, or practices?
I would say I have a theoretical one, which is it's probably better to have it grass-fed because that's how it's supposed to be. Although most grass-fed cows tend to be on really low grass as opposed to tall grasses, which is kind of hard to find. I don't know, but the US is so huge, so I don't know what the offering is in the US, but in France, that's not really a thing you can find other than maybe cows are in the mountains. Now, another problem is breed selection. Not all cows give you good meat on grass, as in like they don't give you a lot of fats. So you get very lean cows if they eat the low grass, basically.
Well, look at bears. So bears in the summer, fall became hyperphagic. And I imagine that the other mammals, the other herbivores, are also the same.
That would make sense.
And remember, grasses all make seeds.
Yep. And that's usually what they eat up top when they
and so this idea that they don't eat grains is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Of course they do. And their job is to get as fat as possible for the winter. And so cyclically you get fat and get skinny, fat and skinny. So I have a preference to grain finished because it gets the fat. And when there were natural grasslands, which really there are very few natural large grasslands, and the animals had free range to follow that.
I don't know how it is in the US, but in France, there's been that new agricultural revolution of the EU and mass farming and subsidizing of monocrop agriculture, and they've decimated all the wetlands. So you don't have wetlands, you don't have insects, you don't have tall grass anymore. So now what you have is dead soil, which they need to put nitrogen in most of the time. And you could put cattle, but in France there's a lot of cattle. I mean, the porks, they're all in 2 square feet in buildings, but cows are out in the open. But depending on the breed, so for example, an Angus will fatten up very well on just grass, but it's a small cow and it's not something that's easy to sell here, and people don't want it because it doesn't yield as much. So they tend to go for bigger breeds, and they will always give corn, I mean maize or ensilages, because they get paid for planting that anyway. They get heavy subsidies to do that. So I also prefer.
we put that in the book actually.
Yeah, we actually put it in the first.
No, in the second one.
Well, in the first we talk about. I mean, so it's more like in the first, a lot of people give you arguments how meat is bad for your health, meat is bad for the environment and everything, and we just we put it back in perspective that. Give me 1 second.
While you're looking that up, we have to retrain our children, right?
Yeah. And I just wanted to show you that. There you go. Basically, when you have animals on the ground, you get worms and you get a recarbonized soil. And so it's actually good for the planet to have animals grazing and being on the ground.
And the subsidy thing is here in the second book.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about this in just a second. What you wanted to say something? Go for it.
No, go ahead.
Well, so basically, yeah, the first one is really the premise is we've lost our ways, and we didn't want to call it the carnivore diet, and that's probably a bad idea commercially speaking, because we need to kind of preach to the choir, but at the same time, it's more of we're not preaching to people here. You need to be a carnivore as if that's a sticker you need to have, but more like our natural state of being is being a carnivore, and our species appropriate diet has gone out of the window. And all of the arguments around it are erroneous. They don't make sense. And so this is more about what is it that we are supposed to eat. And so we also show, for example, the morphology of a herbivore compared to that of a carnivore. And we kind of hint a lot, but we didn't want to make that plants are killing you and all of these things, which we might agree with, but it's more like, for example, I'm not going to convince another carnivore of being more of a carnivore, but this is more of a, for example, my father was way more enlightened by reading this than he was before by checking videos of already convinced people. So it's more of trying to create a bridge for people who are carnivores. People might have questions. And so, yes, we say it's for kids, but really it's for parents. So it's for people.
It's for everyone.
Exactly. It's for people that want to have some sort of a bridge, which is, this is not carnivore. This is not dogma. This is more of a evolutionary logic, let's say, which our premise is that we are carnivores. But so this is, for example, we with the nature of our business here, we have students that come to learn French, and sometimes when there's a hint, if I tell them carnivore, it sounds extreme straight away, and you've lost them already, because then they'll revert back to, oh, we should eat everything in moderation, for example. Or, oh, but what about the planet? Or you can't feed the world with just all of this. Well, there you go. It's not we are carnivore and you should be a carnivore. It's more like, this is the species appropriate diet that makes sense evolutionary for us. To our demise, it's not the most financially, how do you say, it's not the brightest of ideas not to label this the carnivore book for kids. We were hoping that our presence in the sphere would kind of maybe take care of that, but it's more of a, as we said, they are bombarded with a lot of propaganda at school. People are bombarded with a lot of propaganda, and this is kind of reverse propaganda in some ways. We didn't want to. Here's another piece of propaganda. Not that propaganda is bad in itself, because it could be truth, but it's more like, we're not going to cure one dogma that is ill. That people have not come to those conclusions. They're just regurgitating what they've been indoctrinated with. And so here it's more like something to get the curious mind to piece things together in some sort of a narrative. So they kind of activate that does that make sense brain, as opposed to, oh, that's not what I've been told, but more like, oh, this is not what I've been told, but it's funny, it makes sense.
Well, we are seeing more and more people attracted to this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's not being done by the mainstream science or medicine or commercialism in general. but we're seeing those that are finding value, benefit to healing so many diseases, feeling better, and realizing that it's more sustainable than people know.
Mm-hmm.
What are your intentions in this space? What are you loving about it? What are you hating about it?
Well, to me, same problem that I've assessed in all the other spaces in some ways. Although I would say some people like yourself, well, Sean Baker, do try to reach out and have a message that is kind of blossoming to the outside, whereas a lot of other people tend to try and make a niche to kind of have a community going and then do that. And to me, it's mostly, I feel like most of what's been told about the carnivore thing is middle-aged people getting better. And that's tremendous. We need to start somewhere, right?
Right.
But to me, I'm thinking more, we've established that. What do we do now? We're against a machine that is so well prepared, so strong, so well equipped. They have propaganda here and there. Everything's paid for, and we're here, and we've got nothing. And I mean, we have something, but we're not really equipped to multiply. We don't really have the button to scale. And for me, my idea is, okay, this is amazing. I finally saw that we can get better with this. My parents can get better with that. But now, how do we prevent our children from getting there in the first place? And how can they also be equipped to talk about it in a way that doesn't raise defense mechanisms? Because if I tell people plants will kill you, well, it's great to get people's attention, but you're probably going to get a shield in front of you instantly, right? It's more of an idea of trying to get people to, through the back door, understanding what the logic is in the premise, and then start piecing things together by themselves while everything is there, but it's just not spoon-fed to them. It's more like, well, this is how we used to do. This is what we've observed. This is what we've seen from our ancestors. This is a lot of those things, right? And so to us, it's really, in France, homeschooling has become virtually illegal. So what
Really?
do you do? Yeah. It's to fight Islamism. So those who are doing it right now can carry on till they are 14 or 15. And otherwise, you need one of the three cases, either heavily handicapped, your child is a prodigy that needs to play, I don't know, the violin or something all the time for competitions, or you travel too much. So it's not illegal, but it's virtually impossible for most people. And they do that all the time. For example, the vaccines are legal by law in ways that you have to give all the vaccines to your child to go to school, and you can't decide not to send them to school. So you see what I mean? They get you. Yeah, they control you like that. And so this kind of ties to this one, which is basically the new book, which is this one is The Truth About Our Plates.
Yes.
And this, funnily enough, it sounds like the whole, it wasn't going to be Make America Healthy Again, although that's probably the majority of our market, but because we actually wish that on everybody. So it's Make Everyone Healthy Again. And it wasn't the writings before the whole election thing, but it actually turns out to be very in line with the whole RFK movement kind of thing, which is basically, this one is, so it's still Tigret and Leonard. It was more of trying to find characters that go on adventures and make parables out of that. So there's kind of an engaging small narrative around it, as opposed to have a facts kind of books, which maybe would be right, but we thought this would be the most easy to send to people who are not really, how do you say, open-minded. It kind of has subterfuge in it. And so this one is more about the conflict of interests, the corruption, the whole ecosystem of how the money circulates, but in a way that most adults don't know, and in a way that a child can also understand without feeling bleak or nihilistic around their environment. It's more like just the way it is. It is the way it is. And so what do we do now? It's kind of a...
Do you think that there's space for a keto concept and limiting the type of plants that we eat, focusing on a fatty meat centric diet that would fit into our communities a little bit better?
That's a hard one.
I would I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think what is the most important thing about the carnivore diet is a really animal-based diet and high fat diet, high animal fat diet, and anything else is a bit problematic. Like so remember the birthday party, the birthday boy, his mother. So we were eating together, and then I saw her ordering a chicken with some vegetable on the side, and then it arrived. She finishes the vegetable and
And discards half of the chicken.
Yes,
to leave space for the dessert.
Yes, and I was furious. I was really angry, but I didn't say anything. So where I'm from Hong Kong, and the parents, they would always teach their kids, if you're too full, you couldn't finish your plate, finish the meat first, and then leave the vegetables. And she's doing the exact opposite of what we were doing over there. We were doing that because, first, it gives you energy to work, whether you're office lady or you're a construction worker. You need the meat or the animal fat, or you can't think, or you can't work, or you can't move your body. And second is as an animal sacrificing itself for you, and you're not just gonna ditch his life like that. And it's I think it's quite hurtful to see someone throwing away meat like that. It's also for me really shocking to see that people here, they think just eating vegetable-based food, like maybe 80% of their meals.
It wasn't like that before. Yeah, that's new.
Yes, I was trying to say I was really shocked to see that they could tolerate, like, let's say their lunch that is 80% vegetable based, because in our standard, if you have something like this, you don't have the energy to work. And it's true, because I've tried that before, and it didn't work for me. You get really tired. You really need the fuel, even if you are working in an office. So I was working in an office, and then when it's lunch hour, I went to a restaurant. I see the same restaurant with a really big man, a really tiny office lady eating the same thing. So everyone knew it's important, but I also think that that's because the workplace environment is a bit easier in the West. You get all of this protection, and then you can't really get fired so easily.
Well, that's not the case in America, I think. But
yeah, but it was in
Europe, yeah, you're virtually unfireable unless you.
Yeah, not in America, So a point here is that if we simply said, hey, make meat, fatty meat, organ meat your center, have small amounts of vegetables, eat less frequently, we may help so much in health and wellness around the globe. Because we're overly eating food, and then we're trying to exercise to get skinny, but it's not working. We're getting fatter. and I don't believe fat's the cause of disease. It's a sign that you're overeating likely a standard global diet, which is our biggest problem.
What was your question about? Is there space for our community?
Keto.
Do you think the carnivore community could extend? Well, I would say it would be a good idea. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Well, I agree. I mean, basically, we need to share an idea that at least keto, fat, and fasting will help you. And maybe we're going to see, Mediterranean could be improved. Even if you said, what can you do in a Mediterranean lifestyle? I'm Italian, and France, it really is, and for all of us, add the fat, eat less frequently, commune with your food. Don't be getting a bunch of processed rush, and drinking alcohol.
Well, that's one of the worst offenders, isn't it? I mean, to me, it's come to a point where, as I said, with my mom, it's a bit of a beating a dead horse. And the problem is she's 73. She's very fit. She looks like she's 50. She doesn't have a single gray hair. So there's nothing I can sell to her apart from her arthritis to change anything. And she'll always tell me, well, look at me compared to the others. But it's come to a point where I'm thinking, if I can get people to understand that meat at least is not bad, red meat is not the poison that they've been led to believe it is, that animal fats are to be preferred, and they're good for you, and that they should somehow understand that carbohydrates is sugar, and that they should be parsimonious with the way they go about it, that's already as much of a win as I can hope to get, basically.
Interesting. So I believe that processed sugars are less harmful than many complex plants.
I agree with
Yes.
you. I agree with you.
Yes,
And
I agree with you.
I will eat a cookie, cake, or ice cream from time to time and enjoy them and have no worry, because I usually add fat, and it's rare to have the cookie cake, but ice cream, a lot of fat, small amount of sugar, is really, I think it's quickly and easily digested. It doesn't add to fermentation.
Yep. Yeah.
And so fermentation in the gut is one of our downsides, I believe. And because we're eating 3 meals, a lot of lean meat, protein, fermentable, and then a lot of plants, complex carbs are highly fermentable.
And don't you think that fermentation is actually more of a survival feature of our body, because it happens past the small intestine? So we've already it's trying to extract some fats out of your fiber, maybe some energy, but it's not really that conducive to good nutrient intake. So
Right. Now,
I'm thinking it's more of a starvation feature as opposed to an interesting design.
Well, the liver's job and insulin's job is to convert amino acids and simple sugars to fat.
Mm-hmm.
We don't eat fat, so we're eating a lean diet. And so the bugs are there. They're not good for us. The microbes are not good for us. They happen to be there because we're eating a high plant protein diet, which allows a lot of fermentation. And a lot of our diseases are all related to that simple concept. So if you simply add more fat, it suppresses microbial growth. And if you eat more simple sugars, the problem is people are drinking sodas all day and they're constantly snacking. And so there's a lot of high sugars, glycation, damage to the liver, damage to the pancreas. And I think it is very interesting. So if you cook your plants, simplify them, ferment them before you eat them, they'll simplify. Fermentation doesn't make fat, it makes alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is, as I said, I have a very, very acute sense of smell. And one of my biggest worries about my father and it's also a worry I have with my mother, because she has a bad breath. Nobody smells it except for me.
No, I could smell it sometimes.
And she has a very bad breath to me. It's very, I mean, of course, shouldn't say it too loud, but it is kind of a bitter and a bit like burning clutch. You wouldn't know because you only drive automatics in America, but if you've ever burned a clutch on a manual, that's a bit like how it smells. And my father's breath would be that of alcohol all the time, even though he doesn't drink. And that worries me, because I'm thinking there isn't a world in which I'm receiving this smell and I'm thinking that smells healthy.
Well, and the leading cause of all disease is auto intoxication, fermentation in our GI tract, especially the colon, but also the small intestine, which is making alcohol, small amounts, in our children.
Exactly. Well, and so basically, now he can't hide anything from me because he has no breath on carnivore. Nothing.
Yeah. Amazing, nothing. Right?
He's perfectly fine. And that's the first thing that actually kind of opened his mind. It was like, oh wow, he thought it was a feature because he got a kidney removed, and he was told that his bad breath was because he only had one kidney. Make that make sense. But he's not a professional. That's what he's being told. Bless him. And to me, I'm like, no, there's no reason why then if you're fasting, you shouldn't have any breath. And sure enough, he did fast a bit, but he still had a bit of a breath. And then when he went carnivore, he had no breath whatsoever.
No body odor. No body odor.
No, no body odor, nothing. And so whenever he goes to a restaurant with my mom, because they have to live some sort of a life sometimes, he gets fries or something, he comes back within. He doesn't even need to turn towards me. He can be around like this. Straight away, I smell alcohol. And he did not drink anything. It's just potatoes.
Yeah.
And it smells like alcohol.
Well, the way to fix that is add a lot of fat. So I eat.
Or don't eat as much potatoes.
Well, small amount of potato, extra crispy, simplified, no skin, and add duck.
No
That's a
skin.
problem. Now they put the skin everywhere because they make it rustic. You know,
Yeah.
It's lazy. It's
Dan.
lazy, basically. They just don't want to peel the damn potato, but they'll make. But that's an easier way for them to show that it's homemade.
Well, it's so add fat, add sour cream, add duck grease mayonnaise, add butter mayonnaise. You can even do olive oil mayonnaise, but you make it yourself, although it's better with duck grease or with tallow, lard, or butter.
They're difficult to make, though. I mean,
they're easy to make. They're easy to make.
They? I mean, but how do they compare? Because we're from Belgium. Belgium is the country of fries and mayonnaise. So how are they comparable to actual mayonnaise, or I mean, without?
Oh, it's delicious. Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, very delicious. And the beauty is, remember, when you add the fat to the food, it suppresses the microbes in the gut. And now the microbes are suppressed; they're not flourishing. And our problem is, we think probiotics are good, but they're not. The microbiome is a killer. Well, listen, we've got to finish up here, and I really appreciate your time. We need to keep sharing this and talk about your book and your inspiration. Let me ask you just a couple questions. What book or podcast or inspirational stories out there have really inspired you?
It's a bit difficult.
That's a good one, and it's a bit hard. But I would say, well, Joe Rogan, just for the fact that it's a compendium of most of the usual suspects that we've talked about.
Right.
I think one of the first one for me was Sean Baker on the Power Project with Mark Bell, I think his name is, where he was having a debate with Lane Norton. But of course, Sean was way more inspiring in that debate. And there, I would say, how to say it? Once I knew the grasp of it, I did not dwell too much in re-listening to the same topics all the time. You know what I mean? But to me, it was more, the result of all of this was that the angle was always that of the middle-aged adult.
Yeah.
We need to start somewhere,
except for the Steak and Butter Girl.
Steak and Butter Girl, actually true.
Bella.
She's I think she's very honest with her experience, because carnivore is not an easy
it's not an easy thing, and as something that I haven't really mentioned, but I struggle even with carnivore, with chicken, for example. I'm very sensitive to everything now, and even rendered fats. I have a very hard time digesting fats altogether.
Rendered fat is not good for us. You want to eat raw fat.
Yeah.
Raw fat is natural, normal. Rendered fat is not. It's not even good for us.
Yeah, but if I cook my beef too much, for example, the fat has changed, and I don't digest it.
Yeah.
So I just literally sear it a split second and have it cold and raw.
Yep.
With just the outside charred in a tiny bit for the taste, and that's kind of the only thing I'm left eating and feeling good about.
Awesome.
But Steak and Butter Gal has been very, very, very useful for me, practically speaking. Very good. She's the one I would say that I connected the most with in terms of she had problems with some fats, I believe, or rendered fats, all of this. So I had some instinct, but I wasn't sure. And her mentioning a lot of those things just settled a lot of those things for me, and that was very helpful. So that's true. Bella is to me, was very, very helpful in my journey, at least. But in making the book, it's more, it's more of a sad state of affairs and synthesizing all of those things that we've come to think as normal. Actually, I had heard maybe a couple of things with you, but honestly, it's 5 years ago, so it's kind of difficult now. But I remember finding out about you, I think because of your ice cream, which I've never made. But
not yet.
Not yet. But
well, you could do cream, eggs, and you could do. Some people use like a vanilla protein powder. I use small amount of cane sugar. Because did you know there's sugar in meat?
They're small amount though, right?
Of course, but all you need is a small amount.
Yeah,
but But you can even use some sweet butter, shave some sweet butter in there, which is good. But small amounts, I think we are omnivores. We are capable of eating small amounts of plant products
Mm-hmm.
and having very little to no low risk. But again, the problem is there were holidays and treats, but now it's every day. If you could get rid of the everyday, you'll improve tremendously. I'm on day 4 of a 5-day fast right now. I might break it tonight. I don't know. I'm going down to Florida to see my wife and work the week down there. Sometimes it's just, I wasn't going to do a 5-day fast this week. I usually wait till April. I do April, July, October, and January. Those are my five
Do you drink? Do you drink though, or is it dry?
Water.
Okay,
Listen, I don't believe a dry fast is necessary.
Yeah. I've never. We've done more than 3 days, around 3 to 4 days.
No. I did 32 hours.
Oh yeah, no, I've done about more than 3. My sister though has become obsessed with it when I introduce it to her, because she would be so sharp after the second day that it had become basically a drug to her. Which is, I don't know
fasting.
How great that
fasting.
is.
Fasting.
Yeah. And she would be a warrior, and then she'd be like, "I'm on my 7th day." I'm like, "Yeah, at some point you need to eat though." Because she doesn't have that much reserves though.
What's the fuel for your body? Always fat.
Yeah. Fat.
It's never sugar. Sugar is not our energy. It must be converted to fat or you die. It's so simple. Any thoughts on proper human diet? Just a quick answer. What is it to you?
Like I've said, I think animal-based, high animal fat-based diet.
It's basically,
I mean a little bit of vegetables or fruit in my opinion is fine, because I can't imagine if there's a hunter-gatherer and he sees some berries, he will not pick it and eat it.
That's why a small amount of fruit, honey, or cane in the ice cream, I think, is okay.
I think we're having a clash of ideologies right now between the people who want to heal and the hyper optimizers.
Absolutely. And I don't ever call myself an addict. I thought calling yourself an addict is a negative thought. I am healthy and well, and I'm strong. Once you recognize the power of this proper human diet, it's suddenly the world changes. You are capable of everything and anything.
Exactly. And the thing is, you don't also want to be miserable eating a lion diet. If it takes that one vegetable for you to have the drive to do more things in life, well, that has to be part of the human diet. But that's the new name, though. It used to be our species appropriate diet.
Yeah. But it's interesting. See, a vegetable, it doesn't make you stronger or better. But it's like anything else in life. We have choices that we live in an abundant world. I fly airplanes, I drive cars, I walk across the street. I mean, there are many things that are far more likely to kill you than having a vegetable from time to time.
I 100% agree. I think if you don't feel any side effects, and especially since we're talking about mostly middle-aged people, if you don't have horrible arthritis, if you do, then you should probably think of changing something. But if you're thriving and you need your vegetable to thrive because it's part of what gives you a kick in your brain, I think it'd be counterproductive to take that away, and it's obviously not killing you either. So do I think it's absolutely optimal on a purely physiological level? Probably not. But is it going to kill you, and is it diminishing return to take it away from you? Probably yes. So I think we're with you on this.
Yeah.
Although, do you know anyone who's allergic to ribeye steak?
No.
Nobody.
Although question, I struggle a lot with salmon, tuna, and eggs. I struggle with I have kind of nausea after I eat them, except if they're raw. If they're raw, I have way less of trouble.
So read Pottinger's Cats. Pottinger's Cats.
Okay.
Cooked meat and pasteurized milk is harmful for cats, but raw milk and raw meat is healthy for them. So the problem is we're processing our meats, plus we're not eating the skin or the bones or the brain or the organs. No other animal is like throws that stuff away. But I think our eggs are mostly processed incorrectly, the way they're raised anyway, the chickens. But, in general, I mean, for most of our evolution, we weren't cooking anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I
Right?
have way less problem with raw things. It's really when it's cooked.
Yeah.
But with eggs, we have our own chickens in the garden. But since they're monogastric, maybe the fact that they eat a lot of cereals impacts the yolk or something. I don't know, but I'm having troubles. I get nausea sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I love eggs, but I would tell you that I mostly just eat meat. And
Yeah.
and I have my cream and ice cream from time to time, but positive outlook in life, mental status, right?
Yeah.
Mental state. Because if you're worried, if I eat this, you just like you were saying,
You lose the
Nicole,
plot. Yeah.
you lose everything.
I mean, for me, one of the things that helped me, although I've gained some weight back, and nothing that's alarming, but I was a bit more shredded. But it's not a natural state anyway. But it's cheese.
Completely.
I eat a lot of raw cheese. It just
Cheese.
keeps me going. And raw milk, raw Jersey milk when I can find it, but it's extremely hard to find here.
Yeah. Any last comments or questions for me before we sign off today?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a controversial question, but I'd like to know your view on because I've noticed that a lot of animal-based people or carnivore people are Christians, and a lot of vegans or vegetarians are atheists. Do you have a view on that? Because that's my observation.
Christ carnivore. And the Bible is all about beef and the giving of the lamb rather than the plants. And so and so
that's why I remember the story where God was not pleased when Cain and gave him the plant, and
Right.
his brother gave him the lamb, and so the God chose lamb over vegetable. The vegetable.
So a plant purely based diet is a controlling domesticated diet. I will control the masses by feeding them plants, and only plants. I control them even more. So now I control their brains, and I can easily create my world of power and wealth. And agricultural, even most religions, are directed towards convincing the masses to eat plants and minimize or eliminate meat. And when you do that, you become weak and meek yourself. And so if you want to have strength, power, individuality, I think carnivore is the best one to do. I'm not trying to convert anyone to carnivore. My job is not to convey, you need to be carnivore. I don't care. But as a doctor, my job is to help you heal. So you want to know the ideas that will help you heal rather than suffer. So I think that's really the mission we see in the carnivore space. I do believe we need to invite everyone into the space and talk about keto, carnivore, fasting, faith, belief in God. To me, belief in God is the most important thing, not belief in God because this idea, I'm not God. The truth is you are God because God is a mindset. It's a belief system. Has nothing to do with science or anything else out there. Although scientifically, the thoughts in our brain create every in directive to every cell of our body. So my brain creates you to me. My brain creates the universe, good, bad, right, wrong, easy, hard, dark, or light. So, in fact, the power of belief in God is the most important thing in life. I don't care if you're a vegan, vegetarian, Mediterranean, or carnivorian. That's the most amazing story here. And I would say I'm seeing so many carnivores get a bright mindset, creative mindset, which I believe is changing their lives more than we even know.
I think people look for transcendence and for more and what they can do more once they're given the toolkit of expressing their genetic potential in some ways.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you'd say, I think it could be sample bias on my side, but it's true that that veganism tends to be very associated, at least visible on the visible part, with this new atheist culture and a very nihilistic outlook of the world, a very power dynamic world, and a very bleak look on the world. And they're very contempt about themselves. They tend to also be narcissists at the same time, and or some are really gullible and they just really believe what they're being told. And bless them, I wish the best for everybody. But it's true that, as Nicole said, it seemed like people of faith tend to be overrepresented in the carnivore community.
I think I see that.
Yeah.
Are you Christians?
I mean, it's a bit complicated for me. I would say on the way becoming a real Christian.
Well, do you
But
believe in God?
I'm rather convinced that the Christianity is the way. I wasn't really born in a Christian household. That's my problem, because my family is non-religious. They just don't care. But I studied in religious Christian schools for 9 years.
Yes.
So it's a kind of a really contradictory background I have.
Yeah, I think it's who we are. A philosophy of Jesus Christ and the stories are like the giving of God to everyone, no matter what religion you are.
Mhm.
That's the beauty. I mean, we're stories. And so forget religion. It's philosophy. It's a mindset. And that's the power. Jesus Christ did not say, let's all be Christians. He said, I'm going to give you a secret that God is you. And if you simply change what you think, you change what you see. That changes your life, right? Your book, would you show it again, and would you tell us how people could find you and listen and learn from you guys?
So that's the first one, Our Species Appropriate Diet. You can find it on Amazon, on pretty much all of them, except for some like India, where they don't have the Kindle direct print services, because we don't have an editor, although that's something we'd be interested in finding one day maybe. But the thing is, we just wanted the book out.
Yeah, good. No, it's great. I love it.
And that is the new one, which kind of follows the first one, although you don't need to have read the first one for it to make sense. It can live by itself, but it just kind of closes another circle. And this is a really exciting story, actually. This one really is something that we've all, especially since COVID, a lot of people have been made more aware of the whole trouble of conflict of interest. All of these things are very apparent to a lot of people now.
Yeah. Which is kind of natural to humanity since the dawn of time.
I need to add one last thing before we close the conversation. So this is very important to me. So this story is basically we've introduced this character. He appeared in this book as a really like a side character, but then he became the main character in this book. And what happened was his family, they're having a really bad diet, like a standard American diet. And he went on a friendship with the two friends, and then he discovered this and that, and then how to restore the health of his family. But what I really want to say is, now as a parent, before he left the house for his adventure, he let his parents know. He didn't just sneak out at night like most of the movies we have now.
It's true that
the parents are stubborn and then evil and stupid, so the kid has to go on the adventure on his own.
The themes in most children's thing is always rebellion against the parents.
Exactly. But this one, the parents are in the story. Before they left, they talk to the parents. They exchange.
The parents are encouraging as well.
They exchange ideas to see if we should really go on this adventure, if you should adjust this and that. And then when they came back, the parents supported them again with another journey. So because I was thinking when I made this book, because when I made the first draft, I thought maybe he should sneak out without his parent knowing. But I thought, is it really the message I want to share with my daughter? Do I want her to think I'm a really shitty mom, so she has to sneak out, she has to hide things from me? No, I think they are a good team. So that's one really big change I made in the story. That is I would say is really different from what we have in the commercial media, that you say the parents are bad and stupid and stubborn.
And I would say it's pretty funny in how it's done. For example, the media, the TV station is called. I mean, we have funny names for everything. The propaganda it's very. I mean, Nicole's outdone herself on that one. It's really great. I'm kind of the editor, in so called, but what Nicole has as a thread through the story is just amazing.
Beautiful. Do you see a animation movie?
Yeah,
If I had the time,
it's really a time
yeah, but
thing. Yeah.
it's just on me now.
If someone wanted to invest and collaborate to make that happen, we'd go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
because
interesting.
without
Yeah.
help, I'm the only animator myself.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it would be difficult.
we've done a small animation in the past, and everything by hand. So she did frame per frame analog, and so
Wow.
I scan everything, and then I mount everything, and so I'll do all of the slave work basically. She gets the good part, but it's so intense. I mean,
Well,
8 to 12 frames per second. You do the math. It goes
yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
It takes a while. No,
Yeah.
but we do it digital, obviously. But it takes a while. So with no extra resources compared to what we have now, that's not something we do. But so yeah, I think you need to go. So basically, on Amazon, our species appropriate diet, the truth about our plates. We'd appreciate a review if people read it. That would be great, because we've had someone dropping a 1 star with no proof of purchase, and we've also had bad people on Instagram from the other side, kind of trying to.
Yeah, that happens.
So the more we get volume of positivity, the more these things tend to be less relevant. So we are on Instagram, theo.nicole.tales. On X as well, Theo Nicole Tales. And on X, we've stopped during the pregnancy, but we were actually posting famous memes with our characters.
Oh, cool.
That were in context.
Cool.
Sure, yeah, Sean Baker. I mean, I sent that to Sean Baker, who shared one or two. It was pretty fun.
Well, what you're doing in this space, I think, is really important. Keep sharing, and we'll help get that shared also. And love the books. God bless to you guys, and we appreciate you sharing the story to our community, because more of us need to listen to the stories that you guys are doing.
We really appreciate you having us and helping us amplify the stories we have.
We'll keep doing. God bless you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you back. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.